Round number 3 out of 10 brings us to the the Richmond Raceway here for the iSCAR Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour. Here live on Max Speed TV as we decide another winner here for this one. Glad you could tune us in for tonight's event. My name is Ezeckiel Reyes.
And I'm Dewey Schramm.
And we're going to be your commentators here for tonight as drivers get themselves set to go rolling here just momentarily. But in the meantime of that, we want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, Chuck Anderson Ford, for sponsoring via Scott Yost, and that whole entire group for presenting ourselves a fun event here tonight. And we'll go ahead and pull up the points and see where everybody stands as of right now. Yeah, this one's going to be fairly interesting because your points leader, Nick Miller, is not here. He's actually suspended.
Yeah, of course, we're only 2 races in to the 10-race slate, so it's still wide open in terms of who could win this championship. But yeah, the points leader, of course, suspended for tonight's race. So with Christopher Weil here tonight, this is a chance to take the points lead in yet another series. And of course, unlike top 3, there is no chase cutoff as well. It's just the most points at the end of the season, so every race just as critical as the last.
Yep, that is right. And we're going to go ahead and pull up the standings here on the left-hand side of the screen. Currently the fastest on the racetrack right now, Omar Diallo in that number 16. Former Coke Series driver, Alex McCullum in second place. Blaze Brinkley in third. Ethan Johnson in fourth. Christopher Weil in fifth. And yeah, that's your top 5. And of course, Weil coming in here as your technical points leader. But Dominic Howe, really fast as well. He's in 6th place.
Yeah, Dominic won last week's race at USA after gambling and staying out on older tires, and that allowed him to pull within a couple of points of both Weil and Miller. So we'll see what he can do tonight. But a really, really talented top 10 here is Brinkley and Ethan Johnson. Dominated the first 2 races, but both of them came up short. So we'll see if maybe one of those 2 can seal the deal and get that W here in tonight's event.
Yeah, it's just a question on how it'll all turn out for those 2 drivers. And that number 16, Omar Diallo, already has a win at Richmond. It came in the Truck Series, and hopefully he'll pick it up here tonight. Already fastest on the charts, so this is probably his type of track. And of course, coming off of that momentum from that win in the Truck Series on round number 2, and number 16 picking off where he left out here in 1st place.
Yeah, 16's pretty familiar here. We just mentioned the win that he picked up here earlier this season. So that number 16 of Diallo definitely going to be one to watch. And again, as well as pretty much everybody in this top 5, if not the top 10, it's a really, really stacked field we have tonight. And I think this could potentially be anybody's race here.
It's just a question on who's going to shuffle to the front. Of course, we had a lot of shuffling during that USA event, and it allowed that number 86 of Dominic Howe to go to victory lane after a late race gamble. And of course, that big scruffle there at Irwindale resulted in the number 28 of Eric Heater to go to victory lane. So we'll have to see on how it'll all turn out. But in the meantime of that, currently a minute left in practice as drivers get their last laps in here for this one.
Looks like, speaking of Heater, I don't think he's in the session tonight. So even though he has that win already this season at Irwindale, him not showing tonight's going to definitely hurt him in the points. And of course, Heater's won here this season at Richmond. I believe it was the Nice Design Series he picked up the win here at this racetrack. So another one that really knows how this track works and how it should be run. But it looks like that will not be a factor here tonight. So I think that leaves the door a bit more open for the guys in the top 10 to see if they can sneak a win away.
Yeah, and we saw the win snuck away again. We mentioned that number 86 is Dominic Howe, how he snuck the win away against all those drivers who pitted right behind. Luckily, he bested them out after a late race restart, and we'll have to see on how it'll all turn out for them. But in the meantime of that, looks like practice has hit the 00, so we're going to go ahead and transition ourselves into the national anthem. Rise out, remove your hats as we salute our nation's colors. And we welcome everybody back here live at the iSCAR Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour. Round number 3 about to go underway here live on Max Speed TV. Now just tuning us here in for this evening, currently under qualifying conditions as drivers take their fastest 2 around the racetrack. Seems as though we don't have enough people inside this field for LCQs to be relevant. So we're going to line up this field based off of heats and that last chance qualifier as well. So nothing to really fret about for all these drivers, except from last week, so it should be like what we saw at Irwindale.
Yeah, it should take the pressure off a little bit off of these guys, where I guess the heat races will be just a bit of practice. I guess, you know, at least if you mess up during the heat races, it won't actually affect you a whole lot in the race itself. But about 2.5 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Looks like Alex McCollum in the 122 already to the top of the charts by about 0.2 over Hunter Johnson in the 12. iSCAR's winningest driver.
Yeah, Omar Diallo, Darius Rosadagar, William Schmidt yet to pick up a lap, and of course, Omar was the fastest person in practice. So if this 16 doesn't qualify, he's going to be in big. He's going to be digging himself a fairly big hole to get himself out of. See, the 24 Noah Allison qualifies himself in P10.
Yeah, Noah ran pretty good at USA last week before, getting flipped over in one of the many cautions we had, but somehow recovered from that to still finish in the top 10. So it was an up and down night for him. We'll see if maybe he can avoid flipping this time.
Yeah, you don't want to do that and end your night that way, but it seems as though all the drivers who are out on the racetrack are just sitting on pit road, so nothing to really much talk about as of right now. We'll give you a bit of race analytics here on the bottom left. Track length, 7/8 of a mile, I think. And elevation, just about 200 above sea level. Time of day, late afternoon, pit road speed 40, and 2 tire sets these drivers are going to strategize upon. And see the weather here in the bottom right.
Yeah, going to be a pretty decently slick track out there with the track temp in the mid 80s tonight. So we'll see how they have to manage those tire sets here for tonight. I don't know if we'll have any green flag stops. I mean, based off the first 2 races with all the cautions that have occurred, I don't know if we'll have a green run long enough that will warrant green flag stops. But if that's the case, of course, pit road speeding is definitely not something you want to do. So pretty slow pit road speed compared to other that we go to. So something these guys will definitely have to keep in mind if that possibility arises.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any green flag pit stops. They actually run bigger fuel tanks than Cup cars. I know Cup cars could fill, I think, all the way to 18.7 gallons. Rather than the super lates, which could fill up to 20 gallons. So you could last longer on a super late model, which is pretty funny considering the Cup car is pretty iconic in itself. But yeah, the super late tank is 20 gallons. But here we go, transitioning ourselves into the heat event. Of course, ATVO wants to freeze, so just give me one moment as I try to situate everything right now. But in the meantime,
that's how it always happens.
Yeah, it always happens. Don't know why. ATVO has some sort of weird issue in which it wants to freeze up during transitioning from qualifying to heat. So it's something I'll have to mention about to those software developers. But in the meantime of that, 8 laps to be logged in for this one, and we'll go over the grid here right in the bottom side of your screen.
Yeah, run number 1, Pro Series driver Alex McCollum in the 122 and Christopher Weil in the 41, second in points coming into tonight.
Row number 2 going to be Blaze Brinkley in that number 7. He came close a couple weeks prior, and of course Carson Poindexter in that number 21.
Row 3, Kevin White Jr., who qualified nicely last week, and James Youngman in the 32.
Row number 4 going to be Josh Patterson, and as well as Henry Clappert in that number 34.
And rounding out this heat race. Brayson Collins in the 5 and William Schmidt in the 79. So this will be the first of the 2 heats we'll have here for tonight, which will determine the starting lineup for tonight's field. 10 here in this one, 10 in the second one. So golden opportunity here for Christopher Weil, with Nick Miller unfortunately ineligible to compete tonight. Comes in, I believe, just 1 or 2 points behind that 95, and starting in second for this heat. And if he can win this heat, he'll start on pole for the main event. So a great chance here for that 41 to walk out of it tonight with the points lead. And he knows all about having points leads.
Yep, that's right. Just stay yourself consistent and wins a couple of races, and you'll be the points leader. But in the meantime of that, we'll see how he fends out. The driver is right behind, and up front, that 122 former Coke Series driver, Alex McCullum, is going to lead this heat to the green flag. Got to go green here for 8 laps of racing, determining the top 5 to secure themselves a spot. Even though everybody else is securing themselves a spot, we'll take the green anyway. Green flag is out, 8 laps to go.
As one car already briefly goes down onto the apron, that's the... not sure who that was, but looks like it's not a factor now. Brinkley with a move to the bottom side here out of turn 2, trying to get second away from Weil as McCullum starts to pull away here from the rest of this field.
Side by side, right behind as well. Trouble right behind. One car goes around. Looks like it's Youngman in the 32. He spins around, and no caution, of course, during heat events. Up front, though, Alex McCullum's already checked out. Blaze Brinkley moves himself into second place, and that battle for 4th that I just mentioned about earlier, it distinguishes, and that'll be Kevin White Jr. in a P4.
And it looked like William Schmidt may have gone down pit road to either avoid that or for something different. But he looks like he's already scored a lap down, as the lead for Alex McCullum continues to lead here, as Patterson's going to give a tap to Poindexter and get him all sorts of out of shape. But the 21's going to hold on to it. But the 02, bit of a dirty move there to take that spot away.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a dirty move. I think Poindexter...
That was a big tap.
Yeah, that was a fairly big tap. We'll just have to get another look at it once we get the chance. But in the meantime of that, all eyes are on that 112, Alex McCullum and Blaze Brinkley to set themselves up. And that was also for a top 5 spot. So Poindexter is going to have to do a bit of more racing if he finishes in that position through that last chance qualifier. But luckily, nobody gets eliminated, as I said, for that 21. All he has to do is just, log himself through. But he won't be starting where he wants to be.
Yeah, I think some people would call that dirty if it was early in a race, but as looks like we've got one car in the wall, and that is the 34 of Clappert. But I think if that was earlier in a race, people would call it dirty, but at the end of the race, I feel like that may have been done out of necessity. But to each their own, I guess, as it comes to that. But McCollum's lead still continuing to grow, but I think Brinkley may be starting to level it out a little bit in that 7, but only 2 laps to go separates Alex McCullum in the overall pole for tonight's race.
Yep, that is right. So they work themselves into 1 and 2. The gap between everybody is just about less than a second for P1 through P6. McCullum blinking just a bit, but we might have a battle here for 3rd as Kevin White Jr. closes the backside of that number 41. In the meantime of that, here we go. White flag this time by McCullum will cross the start-finish line. 7/8 of a mile left.
Yeah, and as soon as the green flag dropped, that 122 was off and away compared to everybody else. And he will dominate this heat race here as we go into turn 3 here for the final time in heat 1. And out of 4, Alex McCullum takes the win here in heat 1, and he will start on pole for tonight's main event.
Great job for him. It seems as though the battle for that 5th spot will be Poindexter getting himself in as Patterson.
What happened to Patterson?
I'm not really sure. It seems as though he fell out.
Maybe a bit of karma there for the 02, perhaps. But as we'll grid up here for heat number 2, and leading us here for the green will be Hunter Johnson in the 12 and Kyler Wynn in the 084.
For number 2, going to be Dominic Howen at number 86. Ethan Johnson right alongside of him.
Row 3, Noah Allison, who had a solid run last week despite going upside down, and Garrett Hess in the 91.
For number 4, going to be David Bachman in the 84. Luke LaFaro in that number 6 right alongside him.
And rounding out the grid here for heat number 2, Omar Diallo in the 16 and Darius Reza-Dadgar in the 11. So it's a 20-car field here for tonight's race, 10 per heat. And the top 5 again will, quote-unquote, lock themselves in, even though everybody's safe. The bottom 5 will just have to go through the let's see who starts where in the race.
Hunter Johnson will roll himself out. Yeah, and it looks like Omar Diallo in that number 16 is going to have to start himself from the tail end of the field. So that number 16, I know he's fast. We'll just have to find out how he will work himself through those top 5 and get a nice starting spot coming for that feature. Number 12, Hunter Johnson, already multiple wins in this season. We'll see if he can pick the one up here as the field rolls themselves through these first couple of corners for their first pace lap.
Yeah, mentioned it plenty of times before, and we'll probably mention it plenty more times. That 12 has one more here in iSCAR than anybody else. So that 12 definitely knows what it takes to get the job done. But it's going to be quite the tall task tonight with how good Alex McCollum is, as we've already seen him just dominate that first heat. So, of course, he has to get through this heat first. We'll see if he can hold on and stay in first for the duration of it. But I'm curious to see how he'll be able to stack up against guys like Ethan Johnson, who start diagonally behind him, Brinkley, and the aforementioned McCollum.
Yep, that's right. I think Heat 1 was a bit more stacked than this Heat, and I expect Hunter Johnson to pull away with this, but for that second spot, Kyler Wynn in that 084, trying to fend off last week's winner of Dominic Howe, as well as Ethan Johnson in that number 51. Heat 2 was actually fairly fast at USA, so maybe a bit of competition for that number 12, and as well as the 86 of Dominic Howe right behind. And Allison, you mentioned how he flipped during that USA race. Still ran fairly well somehow, even though that super late model was on its lid. But here we go.
Pace car out of the way, and we're under green here for the heat number 2, as one car did not get going at all, and that will allow Diallo to pick up a quick, easy spot there on the bottom. And it looks like Kyler gets a bit high there in the middle of the turn as Hunter clears out of 2.
Oh, it seems as though Ethan hit the wall trying to get himself situated. He's going to be bottled up as they're 2 by 2 right behind this number 12. All he needs to see in his mirror is those drivers fight side by side as Kyler wins, tags the outside wall into the corner. Dominic Howe is going to gun for that second spot.
And I think that 86 will clear, and indeed he does out of turn 2, so put that 86 up into second. Side by side here briefly as Diallo will overtake. Looks like that's 5th from Ethan Johnson, so that 51 for now has to go to the let's see where everyone starts in the race. But Diallo started this heat in 9th, and in 2 laps already gained 4 spots.
He gave the 51 a tap trying to get by him, and it seems as though Ethan Johnson trying to work to the backside of that number 16 as Omar's going to make a move to the bottom, or at least attempt to, on Noah Allison. Noah actually got scared up the racetrack. He missed the bottom there in 3 and 4, but luckily keeps himself clear for right now. And oh, Johnson in the wall again, or the Ethan Johnson machine.
Yeah, a couple of different people already hitting the wall here.
Oh, Omar just went around.
Yeah, had got himself up there, but looks like that has all been erased now, and he'll have to go through the let's see who starts where in the race, and all 4 of those spots down the drain for that 16. The gap for the 12 and the 86 starting to lengthen here, as I think Hunter might have this secured here for Heat 2. Kyler sitting pat in 3rd, and there's Johnson, I think, is still in 6th place, so if he got into Diallo and got him around, he's still not in or locked in to the main event yet. Garrett Hess in the 91 currently occupying that final spot.
Yeah, now Hess will get himself in, as looks like it seems as though Omar in that number 16 is all the way around back in 9th place as Darius Reza-Dadgar lets him by. 2 laps to go this time by as the drivers cross the start-finish line. For that number 12, Hunter Johnson, and for that 86, Dominic Howe. Both of these drivers already have wins on top of their, tagged onto their name this season. And they're aiming to do another one. To grab another one. Here tonight is, oh! Ooh. Dominic really sideways off the corner. And keeps it straight, though. Oh, Kyler goes around!
Oh, and he cannot save it. Oh, and LaFaro just about hit him, but he slams the outside wall, trying to avoid that 084. And out of turn 4, Hunter Johnson takes the win here in Heat 2, and he will start alongside Alex McCollum in tonight's main event, as we'll get a look and see what happened there with Kyler in the 084 and the resulting contact with LaFaro.
Yeah, and
this is up further, a bit further up than... Yeah, you see how close LaFaro was to hitting Kyler, but LaFaro ended up in the outside wall, missing him. And get a look here into 1, and it looks like the 24 just tapped him and sent him right around there.
oh. Yeah, and we'll go ahead and resort it out as these drivers get themselves situated for this last chance qualifier. For this one, Josh Patterson, the 0-2, starting himself up top. Luke LaFaro right alongside of him in that number 6.
Youngman and Dadgar in row number 2 for the let's see where everyone starts in the race.
Row number 3, Brayson Collins in that number 5. Omar Diallo right alongside of him.
Henry Clappert and Kyler Wynn, row 4 here for this race. And Schmidt and Bachman round out the 10-car field. So again, nobody's going to miss the race. Everybody's locked in because we are under the field limit. So this, again, is just to determine who will start where in tonight's race. So whoever wins this will start in 11th in every position on back, 12th through 20th. So the only real, I guess, advantage anyone has to winning is just to be able to start upwards of 9 spots higher than other people. But in the grand scheme of things, we'll see if that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's right. I find the LCQ to be fun to watch rather than the feature, in my opinion, because there's some drivers we usually don't talk about who run toward the front, and they get a lot of spotlight, which is really cool for them. Like people like Josh Patterson, Luke LaFaro, James Youngman, Darius Rizzadello, Brayson Collins. So it should be fun to see on who will take this W for a bit of greed and fame.
Yeah, who will win the right to start 11th here in tonight's race is basically the question that needs to still be answered.
Yeah, that's right. And again, some interesting names in here. Patterson, seems as though, based off what we saw in that heat event, he had some last-second troubles through that final lap, and he got himself in 6th place. So, LaFaro, Youngman, Dadgar, Collins, all the top 5 as... yeah, it should be fun, and should be fun to see on how this will all turn out. So,
yeah, imagine if we just started like offering like a cash prize to the winner of this race.
oh my,
it would take this and make it even crazier. But of course, we don't do things that crazy because that'd be weird.
It's already crazy enough, in my opinion.
That is true. Pace car slides itself down on the pit road here. Patterson and LaFaro will lead us here to the green. We're off and going here for 8 laps to determine who will start where in tonight's race.
Oh, it seems as though Patterson already fending out the inside. Cars
no.
on the wall as looks like Omar is going to split it 3-1. No, he can't do it. Nice save.
Oh, and there goes Kyler. And Diallo hits the outside wall. So we just talked about how crazy these things get. And already multiple cars spinning, not even 2 turns into the race. And Diallo and Kyler will have to start towards the back, and Brayson rides the wall there down the front stretch.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, that was almost to be expected. The LCQs typically have things like that happen. But Diallo already got
Schmidt just blew the motor.
Oh, wow. And he will have to start himself towards the back. And meanwhile, up front, Youngman gaining here on Patterson. So this could be a little interesting race here for the right to start 11th, as these two are starting to pull away from Brayson and the other cars back there.
Yeah, it seems as though Youngman did hold the bottom a bit better than Patterson. Patterson's getting a flat arc off. Both of them actually did not get good turn 4s. And coming into 1, Patterson really like sailing into the corner, but it seems as though that time Youngman was way up higher than what he wanted to be, as Brayson blinks right behind. But these drivers are staying even with each other. Still 7 laps to go, though.
Yeah, still plenty of time for this to change, but I think Patterson might have this locked down as long as he just keeps it steady. But Youngman got a good run there in the middle of the turn and has closed that gap. Looks like in half of where it was. And we'll see if that 32 can get to that 02 before this thing's over.
Oh, Youngman just clipped the apron there, and that lost him a bit of time, as about here for third place. Brayson trying to fend out Omar Diallo in that number 16. That number 16, even though he's damaged. Oh, no!
And they both go, they both save it. And here comes Clapper in the 34 trying to take both of these spots away. He gets Brayson, and here comes Diallo trying to fend the bottom side. And for now, he'll do that. But what a...
Oh my gosh, he drifted that whole turn 4 exit.
That's 3 great saves in the matter of a lap for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. As with all of that going on, these top 2 continue to pull away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I think Youngman has something for Patterson. He's working forward. If he catches him on the white flag, I mean...
We could see a send.
Yeah, we might see a send. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Nobody's getting eliminated, but, you know, it's going to be controversial coming toward feature time.
This is true. 2 to go here at Richmond. We've already seen a couple of sends tonight, so I would not be shocked if we see another one here. But I think Patterson might have just enough of a gap where if Youngman sends it, he can't get to him. So the 32s have to have a really good corner exit here if he wants to set himself up.
Oh, we got loose.
And that is the exact opposite of what you want to do to try to give yourself a chance to get to the leader.
White flag this time by, and it seems as though Youngman lost the opportunity to get at Patterson as he got loose off of that 4th corner. So into 3 and 4 for the checkered flag. Patterson will win the last chance qualifier and will drift it around as Youngman comes up short. Omar Diallo comes out 3rd, Brayson in 4th, as the battle for 5th spot was a bit fun there as Darius comes up short to Henry Clapper.
And they wreck some more across the line, just some more LCQ shenanigans, but we'll take a couple minutes here to decompress as we've got the happy hour session. If you're just now joining us and missed all the craziness from that LCQ, welcome here to Richmond Raceway for the Richmond Shootout, here for the Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour. Alex McCollum and Christopher Law, your front row here for tonight after winning the 2 respective heat races. We got 20 cars to determine who will come out on top after the race tonight.
Yep, and we're going to go ahead and scoot ourselves to the side, get a bit of radio check as well as a couple cameras adjusted, so don't want to bore everybody off of that. Go ahead and sit back and grab a drink as we prep here for tonight's feature event.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into 2nd position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. So here we go. It's just about to go away. They both coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Bonnett. Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
And we welcome everybody back here live for tonight's main event here. About to go underway. 20 drivers going to duke it out here at Richmond for 100 laps of racing. And it should be fun to watch as see the field whip themselves around. Man, I'm interested to see on how this will all go, because that last chance qualifier probably might foreshadow on how it'll all go as Kyler Wynn and James Youngman are having a bit of a practice scuffle.
Yeah, I think what we've already seen is definitely going to be indicative of how this main event goes. Wouldn't be the first time this season that sort of thing has happened, so I guess it just might be more of the same in that department. Alex McCollum on top of the charts here in Happy Hour after doing so in qualifying as well as winning heat number 1. So the 122, definitely a force to be reckoned with here in tonight's race.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, ready a 10th up on the fastest person in practice, Omar Diallo, that number 16, who had a bit of problems getting himself through the field. So we'll just have to see on how it'll all go for that number 16 as he wrecks it off of turn number 4. And for that 86 and 41, Dominic Howe and Christopher Weil, an important night here, as seems as though Weil is a tad bit slower for this one as Clapper tries to wreck him in a 3. But Weil, he currently sits P10 in practice, but hopefully that isn't indicative on where he's gonna run here for tonight.
I believe he finished either 2nd or 3rd in Heat 1, so he's got decent speed here tonight. Of course, having recently bought the super late model as he rides the wall here in 3. I believe he bought the super late either the same day or the day before the season opener at Irwindale, so still not a whole lot of experience overall with these cars. So the fact that he's 2nd in points while basically still trying to learn how the car drives is still really impressive. And a chance to take the points lead tonight with Nick Miller's suspension, I mean, you don't see that a whole lot. It takes a special driver to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's why he's so talented. And he's so fun to watch as looks like practice hits the double zeros. But yeah, that number 41 is fun to watch. He's always contented week after week. And he picked up the victory at the Truck Series at Auto Club over Cole Williams in that number 42, denied him of his first win. We'll have to just see on how we'll shape out here for this one, as here's your starting order. Alex McCullum going to start up top right alongside of him, the number 12, Hunter Johnson.
And the 2 heat winners in row 1. Row 2, the 7 of Blaze Brinkley, who came up just short at Irwindale, and Dominic Howe, last week's winner at USA.
For number 3, going to be Christopher Weil in that number 41, Noah Allison in that number 24, right alongside of him.
Row 4, Kevin White Jr. in the 13, and Garrett Hess in the 91.
Yep, that is right. And rounding out top 10, number 21 of Carson Poindexter and a number 51 of Ethan Johnson right alongside of him. The rest of the order is going to be shown on your screen. Find your favorite driver, and hopefully they'll come out up top here for this one.
Only 20 drivers here for tonight, so compared to the top 3 series we usually run, might seem like a small field, but a relatively consistent super late model field size here for tonight. Of course, also had around 20 or 21 at Irwindale, but we had actual DNQs for the first time ever in this series last week at USA, but thankfully nobody had to worry about that here for tonight. So we'll have 20 drivers over the next 100 laps to determine who will win race number 3 here of this season.
Yep, that is right. And for that 122 of Alex McCullum, he has an interesting statistic here in iSCAR. Nobody in iSCAR, except for like a few select others who made single starts, has an 100% winning percentage. And this number 122 of Alex McCullum, the 4 races he has started, he has won all 4 of them, which is a statistic that might be touched here for tonight, making its 5th start here for this one. We'll have to see on how he'll fan out here for this.
Yeah, the man that has won every one of his starts versus the man that's won more iSCAR races than anybody else that's ever run in here. So quite the talented front row here for tonight. Will one of them pull it off, or can one of the other 18 cars in tonight's race steal it away from them?
We'll just have to find out as the base car will scoot itself onto pit road. 100 laps going to go underway with the super late model event. Glad you could tune us in here live on Max Speed TV. And the field works themselves off of 4. McCullum will lead it to the green. We're up and away here at Richmond.
And a bad start there for the 86, and they're going to be a bit bottled up here into 1. And hopefully nobody cuts down on another car like we saw a couple times. Oh, and Dominic spins here out of turn 2. And Ethan Johnson's upside down. And another car goes up on its side. And a huge crash here on lap number 1 leaves Ethan Johnson in a pile of junk here on the backstretch.
That was... Oh, man. Ethan's sort of throttling it up, trying to get back on all 4. He might hit Bachman. Looks like no, but he just... There he goes.
Oh, he did it.
But, man, that was a nasty wreck off of turn 2 to spark off this event. And
yeah, I was just about to say, I hope nobody cuts down on someone else's nose, because that happened a couple times in the LCQ, and looks like that's exactly what happened. I think Dominic came down in the 13, and there goes the 51 upside down, and then Noah Allison in the 24 ends up on his side. So, carnage here out of turn 2, almost 2 cars upside down. It looks like Schmidt in the 79 also with some trouble in the background. Youngman Collins also suffering damage there as the 51 slides down the backstretch.
yeah, that's... looks like the 86 of Dominic. You mentioned it, just trying to come down in the line and get himself situated. But you don't want to make too aggressive moves like that. And the 13 of Kevin, he was already there, and bang.
Ooh.
That's a hit.
Yeah, and there's Kyler and Schmidt at the back end of that. The two of them hit, but hopefully that's not significant damage. But it looks like Schmidt's going to go a lap down, unfortunately. So Ethan Johnson, despite going upside down, still on the track. And it doesn't look like he actually has a whole lot of damage. He might be able to actually continue in this race, but we'll see if he has any engine damage that may slow him down on the straights.
Yeah, oh man, that was not what you want to see here on a 100-lap event.
Am I surprised? Not necessarily.
No.
But, I mean, we saw what happened in the LCQ in the heats, so, I mean, it was definitely a possibility, and that possibility has become reality here on lap 1. So we'll get the field lined up again, as McCullum and Johnson still won too, of course, as they literally had no chance to get by anybody. Well, in McCullum's case, no one, but no real opportunities, of course, for anyone to pass yet. But it looks like the 86 of Dominic also already lapped down, so that could be some extensive repair times for the two of them, as well as the 51.
Yeah, oh man. Hate to see it, but, you know, you can make an hour compilation of first lap iSCAR wrecks. This league's been running for 5 years. I've seen a lot of things, but that one in particular, I want to say is something fairly new, but it's just something that typically you don't want to see, but it can happen, and here tonight reared its ugly head, and unfortunately with 2 cars just about, well, 1.5 cars flipping over. Oh, man.
It happens sometimes, but the one to go here, so hopefully we can get a longer green flag run than 2 corners this time. McCollum, Johnson, Brinkley, Weil, and I believe Kevin White, the top 5 here for restart number 1 of the night. Still a long way to go.
Field rolls himself into 3 and 4. Base car is in green on lap number 6 out of 100. McCullum will lead it to the green.
Green flag, green flag.
And off the 122 goes, and that's going to allow Brinkley to probably get the nose under Hunter here into turn 1 to try to take second away. And indeed, he will here out of turn 2. That 7 can't clear, and a 12 over run down the backstretch, but he'll have another shot here into 3 to take that spot for good.
If Hunter pinches enough for that number 7, he won't get by him, but it seems as though, oh my goodness, Blaze is using up all the racetrack, shoving Hunter right up against the wall, and he scrapes it. Just trying to pinch him down. It looks like Hunter's not pleased with that.
Yeah, Hunter might give that 7 another tap here into 3. That's going to be something to watch here in a moment, as I think a couple more people slap the wall out of 2. As Brinkley clears, as Weil has a bit of a blinking issue there, but hopefully that resolves quickly as Poindexter scrapes the wall across the line.
A lot of people just scraping the wall against the front straightaway, but in the meantime of that, they keep themselves situated in a straight for now. Whoa!
Oh. As looks like the 91 of Hess briefly climbs the wall just for a moment, and that's going to drop him behind Patterson, and, well, Dominic's a lap down, so that's not for position, but he did lose a spot there to the 02. McCollum started to stretch his lead by around half a second over Brinkley, who scrapes the wall at 2. There has been quite a lot of wall contact here in this opening stretch of the race.
I think these drivers... Yeah, that's right. Oh, there's contact right there!
Oh, Hess and Kyler both been, and that will be caution number 2 of the night. Looks like they're going to both be able to keep it going, but the caution out nonetheless. So another early one here on lap 11, involving the 084 and the 91.
These drivers are over-interpreting what they could run with. This super late model body is wider than what they usually typically run here in the NASCAR side. And
Clapper right in the back of the 084 too after the initial contact. Get another look here into 3. And a big run here by Kyler on the bottom. I think Garrett may have just come down not realizing he was there. And the 34 runs right into the back of the 084 with nowhere to go. So that's going to be a bit of hood damage now for Clapper.
Whoa, McCollum's going to hit pit road. Wow, that's a surprise.
And he's alone in that column. Nobody else is going to join him down there. So an interesting call here to take tires on lap 11. Looks like a couple people towards the rear of the field. Looks like Patterson and Hess and a host of others towards the rear of the field are also going to come down. But looks like the entire top 5 outside of McCollum did decide to stay out.
Oh, he might have called it a day. Oh, no, never mind. He's just blinking in and out. Or yeah, he might have dropped out, so I think McCollum might have called it a day.
Well, if he did, that'll end his perfect streak of 4 for 4 here.
That's right.
And I wonder if he just did. Still dropping on the leaderboard still. So maybe that is it for the 122 tonight.
What an unfortunate
Hopefully
way.
It's not, but...
Yeah. That'd be an unfortunate way to end off a 100% win ratio.
So that will give Blaze Brinkley the race lead, as, of course, he had gotten by Hunter before the caution came out. The 7 will have control of the restart here for the first time in tonight's race. Dominated Irwindale before being tapped by, you guessed it, Hunter Johnson on, I believe, the second green-white checker, trying to pinch that 7 up the track. So just a bit of history between those two, but I don't know if it's specifically bad blood or anything, but they've had their share of run-ins here in this series over the last couple weeks, but hopefully that doesn't become anything more than what it has been.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, they raced each other close during that LCQ. Or, I mean, not LCQ. Were they in the same heat? I don't think they were, but...
I think they might have been.
They might have been in a different heat. I'm not really sure, but... Yeah, Brinkley and Johnson, you mentioned the previous contact they had. Hopefully, as you said, nothing escalates more off of that.
And of course, earlier in the season, we saw that heated rivalry brewing between Parker White and Aaron Mulrooney. So hopefully we don't see another one go to where that one went. But that one had an unfortunate ending, of course, as Mulrooney no longer in the league. But for Parker White, I mean, he just scored his first ever iSCAR win. So I guess the two of them went in very different directions after the conclusion of their string of run-ins they had. But I think for these two, it might be bigger and better things than worrying about the others specifically. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree a lot. They'll be starting 1 and 2 right behind them, though. How about the 13 of Kevin White Jr.? He's now worked himself into 4th after that big wreck right in front of him. It looks like he escaped out with very minor damage on his left rear, excuse me.
Yeah, I think he got run into by either Ethan Johnson or Noah Allison on that big lap 1 wreck, but thankfully for him, the amount of damage he has, not nearly the amount that the other cars picked up. And speaking of Ethan Johnson, he's now 3 laps down, so looks like he'll just get some cautions to get those laps back. And Blaze Brinkley will lead us back to the green here on lap 17.
Brinkley is sort of straddling the low side on the front straightaway, sort of shortcutting it coming into turn number 1. Wouldn't necessarily say shortcutting it, but getting a shorter path coming into turn number 1. Good maneuver there, as they're just about 3 wide right behind. The 6 of LaFaro trying to peek himself under. Clappert!
Uh-oh. And Clappert and Patterson both go sailing. Actually, that's Collins in the 5. Go sailing up the track, but thankfully the 2 of them save it, as Diallo gets by the 13 of Kevin White for 4th, as the 13 gives that 16 a bit of a tap there in the middle of the turn. And now Diallo sets his sights here on Christopher Weil into turn 3, as Brinkley continues to lead the field here, going to lap 19.
No surprise to see this number 16 easily weave himself through into this top 3. He'll have to fight the number 41, Christopher Weil, there on the high side, but he'll easily clear for that position, and he'll have a chance to gun for this top spot. But there's a battle for it, as Brinkley and Hunter Johnson duke out, trying to see who's best of lap number 20.
Yeah, with McCollum no longer in contention, it's opened up the door a bit for some of these guys to see what they can do. And both of these top 2, actually this entire top 5, or actually the whole top 10, looking for its first Super Late Model win of the season, as Dominic House sits just outside of that in 11th. So in terms of points, again, we're only 2 races in out of 10, so the points are still wide open for anybody to try to get up and claim that points lead or maybe get close to it. So this could be a big night for maybe Brinkley, Johnson, or anyone else in this field.
On board with the 12, Hunter, as Brinkley washes up the racetrack. Hunter trying to close the gap between himself and the 7. See the different entry points they had into turn number 1. Brinkley was a bit lower into the corner than Hunter. Seems as though Blaze, not really sure. We'll see how this lap goes. Not really enough to judge off of the racing lines, but right there, Hunter likes to run a bit higher into the center of the corner. Rather than that number 7.
And I think that allows him to exit perhaps just a bit lower than the 7 does. So maybe he's trying to do that enough, or maybe he can get the nose underneath going into a turn. But hasn't quite been able to do that yet, as he scraped the wall there into 1. It's going to be quite the challenge for that 12 to try to get by that 7. But at the same time, as he tries to figure out a way to get by Brinkley, he's got to worry about Omar Diallo pretty soon, because that 16 has caught these top 2.
Yeah, he's flying right now. Once that 16 gets side by side with the 12, I think it'll give a bit of a sigh of relief to that number 7 of Blaze Brinkley. It's a bit harder to pass in these cars, and as you saw right behind for that battle for 5th, as Kevin White fends out Carson Poindexter. And we have a string of cars all the way from the back straightaway trying to foul themselves into rhythm, but for right now, this top 3 on an island of their own. It's Brinkley, Johnson, and Diallo.
Coming up on a slower car here in the next couple of laps. But yeah, Hunter's still trying to close that gap on the 7. Well, simultaneously, we'll have to try to hold that 16 off, as I think Diallo's going to get to his bumper probably the next lap or 2. But that 16, definitely the fastest car out on the track right now, as the 3 of them start to pull away from Weil and company further back. I think Hunter's definitely there now, but I think the only way Hunter's going to really be able to get by Brinkley might be to give him a tap into one of the turns.
Oh, here we go. Hunter's gonna sail it to the inside, maybe scare the 7 up the racetrack. Looks like no opportunity there. And they're still clear for now, but I think Hunter's gonna hiccup just a bit. Oh, Blaze might have hit the wall just a bit, but what that allowed is Blaze to pull away just a bit. I think Hunter's a bit faster than number 12 as we progress with the this run. So we'll just see on where the passing opportunity could happen and how that 16 will play a factor into this.
We've seen quite a few instances of the car that's not necessarily the fastest end up winning the race because and Noah Allison just going up right up the track into the wall as he's trying to get out of the way of the lead lap cars. But and some contact there with Patterson and Kyler. And almost a spin there from Bachman as stuff keeps happening. I was trying to say my point, but yeah, we've seen quite a few times where the car that's the fastest doesn't necessarily win. If you're a slower car, I wouldn't necessarily say slower, but just a car that might be a tick slower, like Brinkley is compared to Hunter Johnson. As long as you can fend off the dominant line of the track and take away the main passing opportunity, that could just be enough. But that's going to not help that at all. But if you can fend off just enough, that could give you a chance to win. And with Hunter ended up getting stuck behind Brinkley, now Diallo's right with these two now.
Hunter's going to have to fend out to the low side. He cuts off the 16 and a 1.
And that's going to cost him some time.
I won't say too much time, but Brinkley definitely has some right side damage on that machine. It's definitely not going to help the turn in for him, but Omar's not letting go of that number 12, and it seems as though Brinkley is fading fast.
Yeah, but again, as long as he can keep that low side, which is pretty much the only part of the track you can actually pass on, he could potentially stay up there for a while. But if he starts to hold up Hunter, Hunter might boot him out of the way, and he'll send the nose in there into 3, but not quite enough to move that 7 for the top spot.
Yeah, this is tense between these top 3. You don't want to run over the guys right in front of you, nor jam on the brakes too much, and with the guy right behind you, gets bottled up, but these cars are not letting any room.
Here he goes.
Here comes Hunter to the low side. Looks like no opportunity there. Diallo's all over that number 12, so we might have a bit of an accordion effect. Looks like no. And that 12 is going to be the biggest loser off of that. He might lose a spot to Omar. Whoa!
Whoa! And
oh, my.
Diallo gets the nose under this time, and that is exactly what Blaze Brinkley wants to see, as that brief side-by-side action there allowed him to pull by a little bit on Diallo. So we'll see what this 16 has for the 7 now, as he's now finally gotten around that 12 of Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson made a gutsy move there to block to the low side. I wouldn't agree with that. And try to stall out that number 16 and make him use his tires before he gets to that number 7. But Omar made easy work of Hunter Johnson, and now he's into 2nd place. It's just a question of how he's going to catch that number 7 of Brinkley. Get himself forward, and he's starting to catch him forward, so I think once they... Oh, never mind that. Caution comes out. Looks like we got a wreck toward the back. Around goes Garrett Hess, and looks like Patterson drifting as well, but...
Caution number 3, and looks like Dominic Howe in some more trouble in the 86. So Noah Allison is 19 laps down, and I think Dominic booted the 24 out of the way to get him out of his way, as Dominic is running lead lap. And even though Noah's a lot of laps down, I guess he didn't really appreciate that and just full sends the 86 and as Noah goes upside down. But yeah, that was clearly retaliatory for the tap the 86 gave in the previous turn. But I can totally understand Dominic's frustration, though, being held up by a car that has a lot more damage and is a lot slower than you are, and being multiple laps down.
Oh, man. Ooh! Oh, man. Oh, they were sort of shortcutting pit entry. But, man, that number 7 of Blaze is sort of tinkering around with a bit of death, in my opinion. As that's the reason why you don't want to follow each other on a pit road, but into their stall they go.
So an interesting way to bring the caution out, puts everybody on a pit road except for 4 people. Kevin White, Brayson Collins, Henry Clappert, William Schmidt all elect to stay out. And just as I say that, they all decide to come down pit road on the next lap. But Hunter Johnson did exit pit road in front of both Diallo and Brinkley, so he'll have control over this next restart.
Yeah, Hunter got a way faster pit stop than everybody else, so he'll shuffle to the front. And that's just RNG at its finest. And that number 12, even though he seems like he wasn't the fastest car out of those 3, we'll shuffle to the front. So how about that for Hunter Johnson? And for Omar Diallo, Blaise Brinkley seems as though the slowest pit stop out of all those drivers. And 1 second of pit stop time lost could result in a position lost as well. And you see it right here, that number 12 of Hunter Johnson, with probably the fastest super late model pit stop I've seen. I think the fastest I've seen was like a sub 20, but that rarely happens. But I don't know how super late model pit stops really work. I don't know the range of what the RNG range is, but it seems like though for Hunter Johnson it played to his advantage in a 21.3 second pit stop, shuffles him to the front, and the slowest pit stop off of that, 25 seconds.
Yeah, for, a Cup pit stop or an Xfinity pit stop, 21 seconds will seem extremely slow. But for a super late model pit stop, it's pretty fast. So it may seem a bit weird that a 21 second pit stop may all of a sudden seem fast. But here, it is. And even that 1 second difference, can cost you quite a bit. So we'll see what that 12 can do on the restart now that he'll be the control car. And of course, that means you can go whenever you want.
Yeah. And seems as though this pit stop will use up a tire set. And they didn't pit halfway from past lap 50 as I hit the... that's not a button I was supposed to hit, but we get ourselves on the racetrack as a testing car. There we go. Now we're back into the thing. My shoe hit the steering wheel and it put me on the racetrack, but whatever.
How did you manage to do that?
I put my wheel on the bottom of my floor and I'm flinging my feet around all over. So whatever. I don't know. Oh, man. Green flag. And we're up and away here.
Green, green, green.
For this one as Hunter.
So now the crazy stuff's starting to happen in the booth now.
Yeah.
As Omar tries to fend off Chris on the high side, but can't quite do it, as Chris will, be on the non-dominant high side. He'll file back in to P4. So Hunter starts to pull away just a little bit here into 3, as Kyle will win in the 084 on the apron, and that's going to be a speeding penalty, I'm sure, down on the pit road, so I'm not sure what the issue there is.
Incident penalty for that number 084. 18X on his machine, and he'll get sent out for now, but...
And that's not even halfway through the race, and he's already up there. And just a reminder that we've modified the incident system, so 22X no longer disqualifies you. However, once you hit 17, you get a drive-through every 9X after that. So that 084 will have to be really careful throughout the rest of this race. It looks like he's going to lose a lap here to the leaders.
Yeah, it looks like he just goes high and out of harm's way. In the meantime, for that number 12, Hunter Johnson, seems as though he learned off something from Omar Diallo. He's pulled away by 3/10, but I think when the longer run kicks, that's when Omar will start to shine. And see Bell here for 6th spot. Luke Lafaro works himself forward as Hess will slot into line right in front of the 13 of Kevin White Jr. Nice move there.
Yeah, that 6 of Lafaro's had a quietly decent night. Haven't talked about him at all tonight, and currently running in that 6th spot. We'll see if he can stay up there here. But I think he's hit that outside wall a couple times, along with quite a few other people in tonight's field, as looks like Hess will lose 2 spots here to Kevin White and Dominic. And Dominic, despite being in those 2 big wrecks, still running 8th on the lead lap with all that damage.
Yeah, and while runs in 4th for right now, trying to catch Blaze Brinkley in that number 7 machine. Carson Poindexter trying to follow in pursuit. So if Wild gets a good finish here, of course he'll come out with the points later, and Dominic will in turn lose a bit of points to that number 41. So the points gap between those two is still fairly close. We're only 2 races in, but it's just a 10-race season, so it's fairly short. They just got to get themselves in a nice position and get set up, as it seems as though Omar's starting to slowly eat into that gap that Hunter Johnson laid out for him.
As we hit lap 50 here, so we're approaching the halfway point in tonight's race. I wouldn't necessarily say time is running out, but kind of sort of starts to be. These laps do tick by a bit faster than most people realize, even though it didn't feel like that green flag run was very long. We got like 20 or so laps in. So I don't think Diallo's going to waste any opportunity here to try to get by that 12, and it wouldn't shock me if Diallo, or maybe even Brinkley, if he can catch back up, just muscles him out of the way.
Just have to see, though. The top 2 themselves for right now is Brinkley, Weil, and Poindexter on an island of their own. Seems as though LaFaro is duking it out hand in hand with that number 86 of Dominic Howe. He works with the underside and worked himself into 7th, so that's 1 less point Weil will have over Dominic. But up front, got a battle heating up. Here we go. What can Dominic Howe, not Dominic Howe, what can Hunter Johnson do to defend out the fast 16 of Omar Diallo?
Yeah, Hunter's done a good job of that so far, but I think him and Diallo both know that the 16 is faster than him. So it wouldn't shock me at all if Diallo takes this lead away pretty soon, and he's right there on the back bumper of the 12, as Brinkley actually fell back quite a bit compared to these two. That 7 is now a second and a half behind Johnson and Diallo, despite leading that good chunk of laps under green.
Hunter's pushing the issue a bit too much through the center of the corner. It seems as though the 16 could get in the throttle easier, hence why he's just making more time. And as well as the 12 likes to lean those left side tires on the apron. You'll see it through 3 and 4 as well as 1 and 2, but it's more notable in 3 and 4. And right over, just look how close that number 12 is right up against the yellow. I don't agree with that line. I'd keep myself a foot off, as Omar in that 16 is over that 12. He is not letting it go.
You cannot be closer to a race car without wrecking him than how close Omar Diallo just was. And I think it's going to be within the next couple laps. I think that 16 might end up giving the 12 the boot, but we'll have to see. If he can get the nose underneath him, I think it might be game, set, match for the 16 in terms of getting the spot.
Just have to see, though. Already halfway through this 100-lap event. At number 12, Hunter Johnson trying to fend out that number 16 of Omar. This time by. See right there, the 12 washed up the corner in the center just a bit. Lost a bit of time, and Omar's just really good in 3 and 4. This is where he's making up a lot of time, and you see the difference right there. Omar seems as though he's keeping at least half a foot. Oh, he hit the wall that time. So this is going to lose him a bit of more time, but Hunter keeps at least like Omar keeps a foot off the yellow in 3 and 4, which allows him to get some more speed through the center of the corner. Hunter just likes riding that yellow line and getting back into the throttle as much as he can, but long run wise, it'll help the 16 out if he runs that line through. But Hunter, it might be burning up his stuff, trying to be a bit more precise to ride up against the yellow, just like that. But it's worked out for that number 12, and he's up front.
Yeah, still 41 laps to go, so there's still plenty of time, of course, for that 16 to try to make a move. But those tires might be something that 12 might have to start to think about, because you're right, he may be trying to burn up his stuff to fend off Diallo. So I think if that's the case, Hunter might just be delaying the inevitable in terms of the 16 getting around him. But can he somehow make those tires last potentially upwards of 40 laps? I don't know if he can do that.
I'm not sure either. I think the next caution is going to be a question on who will hit pit road. Because now with only one set, as Hunter really overshoots the corner that time, Omar's going to have the opportunity to pass there and coming into 3. But with only one more tire set left, it's going to be interesting to see on how these drivers are going to strategize with these last 40 laps. If we get a caution with 20 laps to go, I think everybody will hit pit road. But if we get a caution now, still 40 laps remaining, so do you want to hit pit road? Want to see yourself out? Who knows?
Yeah, and with how long this green run is if we go green from here until about 10 to go, I don't envision anybody staying out on tires that old. Dominic had an advantage last week where I think the tires were only around 20 to 25 laps old.
Right.
But here they'd be around, I think, 35 to 40. And I don't know if that's feasible enough. It looks like Diallo may have just given the 12 a tap here. So that might be a bit of foreshadowing of what we might see in the next couple laps. But the 16 definitely letting the 12 know he's there and that he definitely wants that top spot. But it's going to be quite the battle to get it away from Hunter.
Yep, that's right. I think the 16 of Omar's, his patience is getting tested right now. How long are you going to lay back behind that number 12 before you're going to have to pass him, as Hunter's going to cut him off? And seems as though Omar got to run to the high side. He doesn't want to take the opportunity to try to pass on the high side in 3 and 4. Decided to break a bit earlier and slide himself right back in line. So smart move there by the 16. And oh my gosh, he's just so close. Oh, right goes the 12.
And they both save it, but this is going to allow Brinkley and Wow to close in, and that's going to cost them both a lot of time. But thankfully, they both saved it. But now their tires are going to be much more worn than the 7s and the 41s, as Brinkley himself hits the wall across the line, and so does Diallo. So this might quickly become a 4-car battle here for the lead.
Oh, this is nuts now. I think Hunter's tires are shot after sliding through in 1 and 2, as well as Omar is he might be a bit startled by that number 12. And of course, when you're coming off a big save like that, you're trying to get yourself back into a rhythm, so it'll get like a couple of laps to get yourself going. And this allowed Blaze Brinkley now to close the gap, as well as Christopher Weil in that number 41. He's also closing the gap between himself and these top 3 as well. So what can they do to take advantage of all this opportunity right in front of them?
Yeah, I had a feeling that might happen, and it could have been a lot worse than it was, but it still cost them a considerable amount of time. But Brinkley didn't quite close in as much as I thought he was going to. That gap, I think, was around 2 seconds, and now it hovers around 1. So that 7 still needs to make up around 0.8 of a second on track to get to these top 2. But for right now, these top 2 doing everything they can to stay themselves where they are. But I don't know if that's the last time we'll see the 16 give a bump to the 12 tonight.
Gotta call around.
Clapper in front of the leaders, and they will get out of the way, and that will bring out our 5th caution of the night. And this will probably bring everybody down on the pit road, and we'll get a look and see here. And did he have help from Darius, or did he go around on his own in front of him?
I think he had help from Dadgar, but I mean, Dadgar tried to stay off of him.
Let's see up here. It's the battle for 13th.
That looks like Dario. Oh yeah, Clapper just about stopped off of 2, and Dario just had no chance.
Almost had it saved, and nosed it into the inside wall, and there goes everybody down pit road. I don't envision anybody staying out, as there's Ezeckiel parked in the first pit stall. Because yeah, here he is.
But
you'll have to someday do what Kyle Petty did at Sonoma one year and try to commentate while you're racing.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
Just don't swear like he did.
Yeah.
So all the leaders on pit road here for likely their second and final tire set, unless somebody stayed out earlier and will have one left. Looks like Kyler may have just stayed out.
Oh, Brinkley!
And Brinkley takes the top spot back, and that is huge. With only 29 to go, he'll be the control car for the restart. And Diallo lost a spot to Christopher Weil on pit road. So a slow stop there for the 16 and a lightning fast stop for the 7. So this is going to really change some things around. But that could potentially have just handed... I don't know if it handed him the win to Brinkley, but it basically gave him a step-by-step manual of how to win now that he's got the control car in the restart.
Yeah, but he was definitely not the fastest car off of that last run. I mean, that 7 faded fast. And
But
with
now
now
he'll go to
Omar
fast-
trapped on the high side, this is going to be really interesting on seeing how Omar's going to attack this. Since Hunter Johnson's now in P2, so... Oh, man. So, things are starting to flip on the roof, and we'll just have to find out on how this will all turn out. And how about Kevin White Jr.? Top 5 run by him.
And Dominic Howe in 6th after being involved in 2 massive wrecks. The good runs for both of those cars. But, man, I think Brinkley's definitely got an advantage now because he'll have that low side on the restart. So even if he might be a bit slower than a 12 is, he'll be able to fend off that bottom side like he was on the previous, or 2 runs ago. But it'll definitely be interesting to see if he can hold the field off here.
Oh, man. Brinkley's going to have a huge advantage here in the restart. I mean, the leader has so much advantages that he could work himself off of. And now with the 12 of Johnson starting himself in 2nd, it's going to be... I think Hunter's going to be able to work himself underside. I mean, right in front of the 41 to the bottom side. It's just a question. I'm just curious on how Diallo's going to work himself through all this mess. Now he's starting 4th rather than in what was to be 2nd, but RNG at its finest, I guess, as I mentioned earlier. And it shuffles them to the 4th place for right now. And I'm very surprised that nobody took the gamble to stay out off of that run. And I mean, we still have a lot of laps to go. 27 laps to go. Who knows what he could do with 11 laps to go on fresher tires. And here we go.
The pace car is in.
Green, green, green.
Green, green, green.
And Brinkley with a great jump there on the start. And while looks like he won't be able to get the nose underneath the 12, so the top 3 will be already single file. And Diallo can't get underneath the 13 of Kevin White. So this might... Actually, there he goes. He was able to get a good enough run to clear out of 2. And now he'll attack the 41 here into 3, take 3rd back, and they'll make easy work there. So I thought Diallo might have lost 4th to White, but ends up gaining 3rd right back from Weil instead.
Hunter's there on Brinkley. But of course, Hunter's in the same situation as he was that first run. He's now sandwiched between 2 white cars. 2 Toyotas between them. And then number 12, Hunter Johnson. You don't want to wear out your stuff too quickly. This is the last set you're going to rely off of as Omar hits the wall. I mean, he scrapes it. A 12. Oh my goodness, he's there. He's knocking on the door. What is he going to do now?
Yeah, will he do the same thing that Diallo did and try to bump him out of the way? I mean, that might end up being the only way you can really try to pass him. So we could potentially see a bump and run for the win, but still 23 to go to see if that does happen.
I'm not sure. Oh, Hunter got a better corner off of 2, and Omar got an even better one, and he's there. Hunter's going to have to multitask fighting between 2 cars. I think
Just
Hunter
like
has
earlier.
to... Yep, just as earlier, and of course, that number 12, Hunter was the loser off of that. He got bump and ran by the number 16, and up the racetrack he went, and Hunter has to make easy work of the 7. He's not taking the opportunity to fly it down low. I think if you want to make it... If you want to pass for the win, it has to be now.
Yeah, and I think Brinkley knows that Hunter's in a precarious situation here, knowing that if he tries to make a move on him and it fails, the 16 is right there to capitalize. So Hunter has to be really precise in how he approaches these 2 cars, because I think Hunter is definitely in the worst predicament right now of these top 3.
Oh, man.
20 to go.
20 to go at the line, and Hunter did not get a good 1 and 2 that last time. He nailed it down this time. The 7 sort of slowly starting to pull away. If these 2 get side by side, I think that's what Brinkley needs to see for him to secure this one. And if these whole top 3 wreck, well, there's another win for that number 41, Christopher Weil.
Yeah, that would be kind of...
Oh! Off the track goes the 7!
Yeah, there's the move. And down the backstretch, Diallo's thinking about taking it 3 briefly there, but the gap closes, and 2 of the lead goes to 12 with Johnson, and it looks like Diallo's going to get by Brinkley as well. So there's the tap we were anticipating, and now it happens here with 18 to go. But will Diallo repeat it to Hunter? He might here, but Brinkley's right there to take the gap or the spot back from Diallo. And look at Wiles closed in now on these top 3.
Yeah, with that position swap, it moved that number 12 up forward, but unfortunately it closed the gap between 4th and 3rd. So
and Kevin White right there behind him too.
All right, man.
But the caution comes out, and it's Josh Patterson in the 0-2 around in turn 4. Just as that was starting to get good, we have some trouble here. But further back, looks like it's between Patterson and Kyler Wynn.
Patterson tags the apron.
And that allows Kyler to have a run here into 3.
Oh,
Collins pushed Kyler right into Patterson, and they both nose into the outside wall. So I thought maybe Kyler sent it in on Patterson, but it looks like Brayson just punted the 084 right into that 0-2.
Yeah, and I don't think Kyler, I don't think Patterson knew about that, hence why he hooked the 084. So,
I don't think Patterson realized that Brayson hit Kyler into him. So I'm sure Kyler might be pleading over the radio like, hey, bud, that was not me, but...
Yeah.
Yeah,
no more tire sets left, by the way, so... Oh, man. And I think Hunter's in the best situation now, with Omar going to have to start on the high side. Blaze, if Blaze gets a good enough restart, he'll be side by side with the 16. And I think that might hand the 12 the victory, but how is he going to do it, though?
And this will give him the control for the restart, and with it being 15 to go at the moment, that's probably going to be their 11 or 12 to go, so not a lot of time at all. And it would not shock me at all if we see yet another bump for the lead. We've already seen 3 or 4 tonight, so, I mean, what's 5, I guess? What's another one?
I mean, as well as Hunter just gave the green flag for Blaze to bump and run him. And here off the restart, I think that 7's going to be all over that number 12, trying to get by him again. So, Hunter has to be aware. He has to get as good of a restart as he can, or else, if he doesn't get going, that 7's going to be taking it 3 wide into turn number 1, and it might be messy off of that. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, getting down to closing time here at Richmond after what's been a really interesting race, but Johnson now finds himself back in the lead. You mentioned it. He tapped Brinkley just a few laps before that caution, and now Brinkley is going to start behind that 12. I almost wonder if Hunter might try to take the restart in a way that could allow Diallo to file in behind or in front of Brinkley. But we've seen the 16 not afraid to tap the 12 either, so no matter who ends up getting second off this restart, Hunter still has to worry about a bump from either of them, as all 3 of them have been bumping each other all night.
That's right, and... oh boy. I sense a mess coming forward if these, if these 3 get tangled.
Oof. I mean, Chris is right there, but...
I mean, look right behind Chris. It's Dominic, and he's sitting P6, so what can Dominic do to get by WoW for the points lead?
I mean, heck, if this top 3, maybe even top 5 all wreck, man. Imagine if that somehow gave the 86 a golden chance to maybe even win 2 in a row, but will that happen? I'm inclined to say no, but here in iSCAR, you can never say that anything is impossible. As we'll take the 1 to go here, so we'll go green with 11 laps to go. So not a lot of time left for these guys to try to get by that 12.
Perfectly summed up. It's iSCAR. Anything could happen, and... oh my goodness. I'm just questioning, does Hunter want to go on green or off the pace car? If he goes off a pace car, he's going to have Omar right behind him, but if he goes on green, he'll have the chance for that number 7, a Blaze, to slot himself, or maybe even be side by side with that number 16. So he probably has to play a bit of restart games here to pull away from that number 16. So we'll just have to see on what he does. We'll go now.
Green.
And it seems as though Blaze can't nose into the bottom, so this will move to 16. Whoa!
Whoa, and I think Wild just gave the tap to the 7, and here comes Wild looking for 3rd, as they're side by side for 5th right behind him with Kevin White.
Oh, Wild gets stopped!
41, and how did Christopher hang on to that car? And here comes Kevin White for 4th. He holds on to it after nearly spinning. We're almost 4 wide into turn 1 here, as Brinkley continues to lose spots up high.
They're all over the place, and I think that number 7 in Blaze is going to be bad. Matter than Hornet. The 21 gets hooked! Oh, big wreck!
Barrel rolling down to turn 3 as Brinkley's collected it as well as LaFaro. The 21 continues to roll over and over, and just as Poindexter started to make his way up there, it comes to a crashing halt here out of turn 2.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that was messy.
Poor Carson. Oh.
Poor Brinkley.
Oh.
Oh my lord, that is.
I think they were 3 wide out of 2, and Kevin White just got squeezed and ended up hooking Carson right up into the 7. So they're 3 wide here in the middle of the turn, and there's no room at all, and they just ran out of real estate. Oh, right up and over, and there's Carson just barrel rolling down the backstretch, and his great run comes to an end. It looks like Dadgar also gets a piece of this. But yeah, the gap just closed up, and that amount of space could not take 3 cars right next to each other. Oh,
oh my gosh, Dadgar. Oh, nice avoidance there.
Yeah, and LaFaro had that missed, and Brinkley flew down the track while spinning and T-boned him. But I can't believe that Weil held onto that car after Brinkley sent him. That was an unbelievable save. But we got to get another look at that if we can. But Weil had given that 7 a tap, and Brinkley returns the favor. And I cannot believe that 41 saved it. That might be the save of the year.
Oh man, poor Blaze. I feel bad. He was a top 3 car, and oh my goodness, he gets wrecked like that. And for Poindexter and that number 21, that's just so disappointing for him to flip like that. He was running toward the top 6 and wiped out down the backstretch, and we're gonna have another restart. We'll just have to see on how it will all go. And that number 41 and Christopher Weil. Oh my goodness,
and
this is crazy.
Brinkley out of the equation now. So Johnson and Diallo still up there, while by virtue of saving that car somehow held on to 3rd, but his tires might be just a bit worn. But now Dominic, after all the damage he has, he's now up into 4th after winning last week, and Kevin White in the 13 sits 5th. So I mean, if Johnson and Diallo end up maybe wrecking in a way that those other guys just did, man, that could put Kevin White in an interesting spot to maybe, I don't know, seal a win away, but have a really, really good finish.
He's been running toward that top 10 this whole entire race. I think LaFaro, Schmidt, Hess, Wynn, Dadgar, I don't think none of them have any sort of ground to really make up off of unless they wreck right in front of them. But I mean, I don't know what to really say. If there's a big wreck that wipes out a ton of contenders, it's gonna matter on who's left, who has damage, who doesn't, what kind of tires are on. I mean, really it doesn't matter in that way because everybody's on the same set. There's a final set that your drivers could only use, but oh man, how will this all go? We'll see 4 laps to go at the green.
So Brinkley out of the equation now after a great run. So twice in 3 weeks, Blaze Brinkley's been one of the fastest cars out on the racetrack and doesn't end up finishing anywhere near the top 5. Johnson, Diallo, Weil, Howe, and Kevin White, your top 5. Here we go. Could this be the final restart, or will we see another wreck that'll put us in the green-white checkered territory?
I think we're going to see a wreck off this restart. Everybody's just so tense as the pace car scoots itself on in for that number 12 and that number 16, Omar and Hunter. They've been the talk of the day. Green flag, and it seems as though the 16, oh, he turns himself!
And Diallo tried to block the 41 and couldn't do it, and it looks like they're going to stay green, so that's going to take the 16 out of contention now, and that's going to put Weil into second. And here comes Kevin White trying for third, but the 86 shuts the door on him here out of 2.
Dominic, oh, he overshot the corner, but the 13 works himself to the bottom side.
White. 3 to go at the line, side by side for third, as Weil is trying everything he can to flag down the 12 as Kyler hits pit road. Kevin and Dominic both go up the racetrack. Here comes LaFaro and Schmidt to take those spots away.
They're all over the place as the 6 is trying to dive bob it into the corner and get as much as he can. The fight for the top 5 is all over the place, but that leader, Hunter Johnson, 2 laps to go. He's pulled himself 7/10 over that number 41.
Yeah, the contact with Diallo and Weil slowed that 41 down considerably, and that allowed the 12 to just pull away without pretty much any competition. So the 12 might have it made here as Dominic tries to take 4th away from Alfaro. Looks like he will. White flag here at Richmond for Hunter Johnson, trying to become the first, I believe it's the first time winner here in the Super Late Model Series.
That's right, he works himself off of the second corner. Oh, tags the wall just a bit, but the 41 does so as well. And into 3 and 4 for the final time. That number 12, Hunter Johnson. It seems as though the battle of the trio will survive for that number 12 who'll win here at Richmond.
An interesting way to end the race. Unfortunately, not that much of a battle considering the Diallo incident. But man, look at that top 5. Christopher Weil in second, so he'll probably take the points lead. Kevin White Jr. finishes 3rd tonight. A great run for him. Dominic House survives all that damage he had to get 4th. So a great points day for him. And Schmidt getting 5th is awesome. And a great top 5 run for a lot of these guys as Hunter burns it down and adds yet another win to his league-leading total.
What a win for that number 12, and he had a lot of competition from Brinkley and Omar, and unfortunately for the 2 of them, they did not come out victorious, and this number 12 just proving why he's number 1 here in iSCAR as he picks up the victory at Richmond. And with Weil coming home 2nd, this will boost up his points lead, but Dominic Howe finished out in 4th. Here's your order right in front of your screen. Hunter Johnson, Christopher Weil, Kevin White Jr., Dominic Howe, William Schmidt round out top 5, Luke LaFaro, Garrett Hess, Darius Radadgar, Brayson Collins, and Henry Clapper, top 10.
That might be the most interesting top 10 we've seen all season. 11th through 20th, last 10 cars on the grid. Josh Patterson, Omar Diallo, after spinning there, ends up the last car on the lead lap. Actually, Cower win there in 13th. Carson Poindexter, who barrel-rolled on that final caution, ends up 14th. Brinkley, after such a good day, ends up 15th. And then rounding out your field here, David Bachman, James Youngman, Noah Allison, Alex McCollum, and Ethan John. Shotgun here on the field tonight. We're not done yet here at Richmond. We've got some interviews coming up here in a couple moments. But thank you for tuning in so far here tonight at Richmond. We'll be back here in just a couple moments for the top 3 interviews.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into 2nd position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. Oh, here we go. It's just about to go away. They both coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Blythe. Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. this will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
And we welcome everybody back here live for tonight's main iSCAR event. Riding itself out in victory lane is that number 12, Hunter Johnson, after 100 laps of racing. And what a wild one from start to finish, as we saw some interesting things happen for tonight. Big wrecks taking out some big contenders. And for that number 12, Hunter Johnson, he survived. And here he is, sitting in victory lane. We'll go ahead and drag him into the booth here in just a moment. But before we do that, what you think of tonight's race, Dewey?
Well, that one was certainly interesting. We had some couple of flips and a couple of different things happen, but overall, Hunter survives all the carnage and ends up winning here. I believe his first ever win here in the Super Late Model Series. I think it was probably hardest to pass here tonight out of all of the 3 races we've run so far, but there were still a lot of good battles, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season has in store.
Yep, that is right. It seems as though the number 12, Hunter Johnson's not in the booth right now. We'll go ahead and drag in the number 13 of Kevin White Jr. in from P3. Led actually a couple of laps, looks like under caution, but luckily for him, that number 13, even though a bit beaten and tore up on that front end, that number 13 survives with a top 3. Kevin, got a copy?
Yeah.
Kevin, man, what a top 5 here as at Richmond, and my goodness, it seems as though you had the car and had the pace to run up towards that the top half of the field, and here tonight, of course, with all those big wrecks happening, it shuffled you all the way into P3, man. Congratulations, and how'd you do it?
Yeah, man. On that first pit stop, I kind of came in a lap or 2 later, so I had to start at the back, and I pushed hard for about 30 laps, got myself in the 6th, and then we got our big break after a run, and we got caught up in that little incident, 3 wide off of turn 2, and luckily it didn't end our day. But everything just kind of went into place for us, man. Omar wrecked, got past Dom, which I'm sorry, hit the brakes and it just went straight. But yeah, man, everything just fell into place, and I was there at the end. I had pace, but I definitely didn't have pace for 3rd place. I can tell you that right now.
I want to say you lucked yourself into a 3rd place run, of course. That pace that you had during that whole entire race was keeping you inside for what set you up for P3 here tonight. So, bud, congratulations with your P3 finish. And, of course, points-wise, I don't know where you're coming in here for tonight, but I think you did run the past couple of super late races. Where are you looking forward to coming to the next one coming at Thompson?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a good track. I did well there in the tour mods, and hopefully it's gonna be the same for the super lates.
All right, bud. 10 for Kevin White Jr. and that number 13 rounds himself out in P3. Before we let you go, any sponsor want to thank you for tonight?
Total Advantage, they've helped me out a lot. Windshield Deep, all of them, Landon, they've helped me out a lot and pretty much escalated my career a little bit in iRacing, and I wouldn't be able to do this and have pace without them.
All right, bud. 10-4. Congratulations, Kevin White Jr. at P3 finish. We'll go ahead and see your camera next race.
See ya. Thank you, guys.
Oh, shit. My bad. I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and drag in. We'll go ahead and drag in the number 12 of Hunter Johnson into the booth, and Dewey can take this one away.
All right, Hunter, got a copy? Hey, Hunter, it's Dewey up here in the MSTV booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, my bad. I got you. My mic was muted.
Hey, man, you finally came out on top here in the Super Lates after that slugfest between you, Omar, and Blaze. How did you end up surviving that end of the race when the two of them ended up wrecking out?
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Omar because I'd be the first to admit that he was faster than me all race, and I was just trying to hold him off. But yeah, I guess it's just racing. Sometimes it's happened to me a lot. I've been on the short end of the stick of that way more times than or more often than not. So yeah, I mean, it sucked, but it was still a good race overall between me, Omar, and Blaze, and I think they've been kind of getting the better of me lately, so it's kind of nice to pick up a win for yep.
Yeah, and with only 2 races done so far before tonight, now 3, the points are still wide open. So this win tonight's going to boost you big time in the points. So what are you going to have to do to make sure you can get yourself further up in the points and maybe compete for a championship here in this series?
Yeah, I feel like I've been fast every week. It's just the past couple of weeks I've been kind of messing up in the late stages of the race, so I just gotta not have that happen anymore. So yeah, after the first couple of bad races, it's nice to finally finish one off. So yeah, just gotta keep doing that for the rest of the season.
Definitely a good momentum boost for sure, as you'll round yourself out here as the winner. Before we let you go tonight, any sponsors or people you want to thank here?
I just got to thank you guys, Dewey and Zeke and MaxBTV for putting me on the broadcast, and yeah.
All right, Connor Johnson, your winner here tonight at Richmond. Hope to see you back here for the rest of the season.
All right, thank you.
I mean, I hope to see Carson in victory lane sometime later.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Christopher's in the booth. He's in there now.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, we'll go ahead.
There we are.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and drag him into the booth, and he runs himself out with a P2 finish. And luckily with this P2 finish, of course, ahead of that number 86, the Dominic Al by a couple positions, so he'll extend his points lead with this one. Hey, Christopher, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Christopher, man, it was a wild one from start to finish. You weren't a part of that top 3 battle, but you were sort of staring it down a few tenths back. Of course, when they started to tangle up, you closed the gap between yourself and that top 3. What were you thinking through? What were you thinking through that run, that big long run, and trying to get yourself situated?
Yeah, I mean, the first long run we had in like the first half of the race, the first tire set, the top 3 were definitely way better than I was, but after I think near the end of that run, I started kind of figuring it out more, and after we got fresh tires, I think I was actually faster than Blaze Brinkley because I was on his bumper for a lot of that second run. And then, of course, we pitted again, came back out, and going into the corner near the end, I netcoded Blaze, and it kind of got him a little loose. It got us side by side. It cost him 1 spot. And I don't respect his move at all. He literally full throttled into me to try to wreck me. And I mean, he ended up getting the short end of that stick because there was a huge wreck involving him, and I ended up second. But Omar probably should have been second. He just made a really aggressive move to get to the bottom on that restart and kind of turned himself on my nose. It's short track racing there, I guess, but I respect Omar. I don't have any respect for Blaze after that.
Yeah, like that big scuffle luckily brought yourself to a P2. You got clear of that incident after Omar turned right in front of your nose, and maybe if there was any sort of real estate toward the end of the race, do you think you had something for Hunter Johnson?
I don't think I had anything for him on raw pace, but I mean, if I got close enough, I probably would have tried to bump him, but he actually, on the last restart, I probably shouldn't say this, but he actually gave me a cue on when to accelerate so that I could be side by side with Omar, which if he doesn't do that, Omar clears me, no problem. So Hunter kind of created his own fortune there by giving me direction on when to go.
But it luckily resulted in you and Hunter finishing out P1 and P2. So congratulations. Of course, you're coming up with the points lead coming to next week at Thompson. And we look forward to you seeing on the racetrack for that event. But before we let you go, any smash want to thank you for tonight?
Yeah, I want to always thank my Schramm Poindexter Motorsports teammates. It was fun racing. I had Carson behind me for a long run there. and it looked like he was maybe going to be faster than me. And I told him if he got to me, he'd have to wreck me to take the spot. But I like my teammates. They're all awesome. And hopefully next week I can just keep up the top 5s and keep the lead.
All right, bud. 10 for Christopher Weil, and that number 41 rounds himself out in second place. We'll go ahead and see you coming next race, bud.
Yep, see you then.
That was the number 41 of Christopher Weil, who will retain his points lead after tonight's main event. And that'll do it here for the iSCAR Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour for the Richmond, Virginia Shootout. Finally, rounding out ourselves here on round number 3 out of 10. Coming next week at Thompson, and for the Super Late Series, we'll see if what Christopher Weil could do in that number 41. And before we let go of tonight's broadcast, Dewey, sum us up with how this weekend's going to go.
Well, we got the truck series. They'll be going to, I believe, Bristol on Friday. Of course, this is Chase cutoff week, so always an exciting week for sure. So Bristol for the trucks on Friday. The Cup Series will go to Chicagolands to determine who will make the 13-car chase there. And then the Nice Design Series will round out the weekend at Las Vegas. So a nice slate of racing here coming up this weekend as we try to figure out who will be the 13 drivers competing for the championship in each series. Before we let you go here for tonight, congratulations once again to Hunter Johnson on picking up the win here for tonight. We hope to see you back on Friday for the trucks at Bristol. For Ezeckiel Reyes, I am Dewey Schramm. Thanks for watching, everybody.